Imagine waking up tomorrow, right, and discovering your biggest competitor just replaced their entire outbound sales team with an AI voice agent.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, an agent that can make like 10,000 flawless, perfectly modulated cold calls an hour. It instantly analyzes buyer intent data and, personalizes every single pitch without ever taking a coffee break.
Right. The absolute dream or nightmare, depending on who you ask.
Exactly. And then your board calls you 20 minutes later and asks, why aren't we doing this? Are human salespeople obsolete?
Yeah. That is the question right now.
Right. What do you tell them? Because as a sales leader, a hiring manager, an executive, that scenario is probably keeping you awake at night. You open LinkedIn and you're just bombarded with tools promising to automate your entire pipeline and close enterprise deals while you sleep.
The narrative out there is completely relentless. I mean, the sheer volume of AI sales technology flooding the market, it creates this underlying, almost existential anxiety for revenue leaders. There is a very real fear that if you don't automate every single touch point immediately, you are going to be left in the dust. Or worse, rendered entirely obsolete by a machine that costs a fraction of your top performer's base salary.
Which is why today, our mission on this deep dive is to cut straight through that hype and reveal the actual reality of AI in B2B sales.
Yes, let's do it.
We are pulling our insights from a really definitive guide written by Nathan Davis from the Sales Experts. It's titled 3 Things AI Can Never Replace in B2B Sales.
It's such a great piece.
It really is, and it's a crucial piece of source material for anyone building a revenue team right now because it forces us to step back, mute the noise of the tech vendors, and look closely at the actual psychology of a complex commercial purchase.
And, the psychology is exactly where the whole automation argument starts to fracture. Because B2B buying decisions, they aren't just about processing data or finding the lowest price.
Right.
They are heavily influenced by trust, by judgment, and emotional confidence. AI is, at its core, a probability engine. It processes vast amounts of historical data to predict future outcomes. But enterprise deals aren't just math equations.
They are highly complex human negotiations.
Exactly, involving immense commercial risk.
And we talk a lot about risk in sales, but usually we just mean like the price tag or the budget allocation. What other hidden risks is this buyer actually terrified of when they're sitting across the table from a vendor?
Oh, the financial risk is just the tip of the iceberg. The source material outlines this beautifully, actually. When a buyer makes a significant purchase, they are staring down massive operational risks.
Right, like a whole system going down.
Yes. If a new software implementation breaks their current workflow, their entire supply chain might halt. Then there is reputation risk.
Well, that's a big one.
Huge. If a VP of operations advocates for your solution to their CEO and your company drops the ball, that VP doesn't just lose company money, they lose their political capital.
They might lose their promotion.
Exactly. And finally, there is the long-term strategic impact. They are tying their company's future agility to your product roadmap.
So the stakes are incredibly high for them on a deeply personal level. The person inside the company sticking their neck out to buy your tool, your internal champion, is essentially betting their career trajectory on your promise.
That is the core of it. And because of those massive personal and professional stakes, buyers demand absolute confidence in the people they are dealing with. They need to know they aren't, alone out on that limb.
I hear you on the human trust piece, I really do. But I want to look at where the technology is heading because I'm looking at tools right now that can ingest a decade of successful sales data, analyze every single competitor in the global market, and spit out an ROI projection that is mathematically flawless.
Sure.
It can prove, with undeniable data, that a solution will work. So at a certain point, doesn't flawless math beat a firm handshake? I mean, shouldn't perfect data completely eliminate the buyer's sense of risk?
See, that is the exact logical trap a lot of tech companies fall into. They conflate data with trust.
Interesting.
Yeah, data is just information. It is a sterile output. Trust, especially in a complex consultative environment, is built through shared experience and accountability.
Accountability.
Right. An algorithm can hand a buyer a flawless ROI calculation in a millisecond, but it cannot look that buyer in the eye across a boardroom table and shoulder the accountability if things go sideways.
It's the old throat to choke concept. If something goes wrong, the buyer needs a real person on the hook.
Yes, and that accountability is what gives a buyer the emotional cover they need to pitch the tool to their board. Genuine trust is built through a personal understanding of the buyer's unique anxiety.
So they want someone who gets why they're stressed.
Exactly. When a buyer is evaluating a high-risk proposition, they want to speak with an individual who understands the nuance of their specific fear. They need to know that if the operational rollout hits a massive snag at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, there is a human being who will answer the phone, take ownership, apologize, and fix it.
And an AI can't do that.
AI has absolutely no skin in the game. It doesn't lose sleep over a botched implementation, and buyers know that. They can feel that lack of vulnerability.
Okay, so let's say that human accountability gets the buyer to trust you enough to start a pilot program or move to the next phase of the evaluation. The problem is deals don't close just because a trial started.
Never.
Right. Things immediately get messy. And this brings us to the second area the source highlights, which is human commercial judgment. Because once you are in the room, the real sales cycle begins, and it never follows a straight line.
No, ambiguity isn't the exception in enterprise sales. It's the absolute norm. And this is where the limitations of AI become glaringly obvious.
Because it likes order.
Yes. AI thrives in stable, predictable environments. It loves recognizable patterns and clean data sets. But B2B sales are the exact opposite.
It's pure chaos sometimes.
Total chaos. The text lists out these chaotic variables perfectly. Buyers change direction halfway through the evaluation, internal company politics suddenly interfere.
And always.
Right. Key stakeholders fiercely disagree with each other, and macroeconomic shifts cause budgets to freeze unexpectedly.
It makes me think about how we often compare AI to human intelligence. If you use a game analogy, it's like AI is a GPS that works perfectly on a straight, empty highway. But human judgment is the off-road driver who knows how to navigate when the bridge is suddenly out.
That's a great way to put it.
Or like if AI is a grandmaster at chess. In chess, all the pieces are visible on the board, the rules are rigidly fixed, and the environment never changes. An AI can calculate 1,000,000 possible moves and crush a human every time. But B2B sales isn't chess. It's high-stakes poker.
I love that comparison. That is exactly it.
Because in poker, you have hidden information. You have players bluffing, changing their betting patterns based on emotion, trying to intimidate each other. You have to read the room, not just the cards.
Right, and an AI can calculate the mathematical pot odds perfectly, but it can't tell that the CFO across the table is sweating because his bonus is tied to a metric he's hiding from the rest of the committee. And that poker game requires a level of contextual awareness that algorithms simply lack. Think about a scenario where your internal champion suddenly leaves the company, or the buyer gets acquired halfway through your sales cycle.
The whole board flips.
The cards change entirely. An algorithm doesn't know how to read the emotional temperature of the room to find a new path forward. It only knows how to execute the next step in its programmed sequence.
And the source text highlights some very specific tactical maneuvers that seasoned reps have to make in these chaotic moments. Like a great salesperson knows exactly when to push harder and challenge a CEO who is dragging their feet.
Yes, and they also know when to suddenly slow the conversation down and back off because they can sense the buyer is getting overwhelmed and defensive.
Let's explore that deeply for a second. Picture a presentation room. You're pitching your solution, and the head of IT is nodding along. They love the technical specs. But sitting next to them is the head of finance, who has their arms crossed and is deeply skeptical about the implementation costs.
A classic scenario. And an AI delivering a perfect pitch cannot read the micro-expressions on that CFO's face. It cannot sense the historical tension or the political turf war between those two executives.
It can't pause the slide deck and say, hey, let's put a pin in the technical rollout for a second.
Yeah.
It seems like we have some concerns about the upfront capital required. Let's talk about that.
Exactly. Human commercial judgment is the ability to synthesize those unspoken emotional undercurrents. It's adapting the commercial strategy in real time to build a bridge between competing agendas.
You have to pivot.
You have to reposition value on the fly. You have to adapt your tone. You have to validate the CFO's skepticism while keeping the IT director excited. Algorithms simply cannot read the room. They can't play the poker game.
So true. And if judgment is knowing how to play the cards you're dealt and navigate the chaotic room, influence has to be about actually changing how the other players are betting.
Nicely put.
Which flows perfectly into the third area where humans reign supreme. The illusion of information versus true human influence.
Yeah, and this brings up one of the most pervasive misconceptions in sales today, which the source material addresses head-on. There is a deeply ingrained idea that sales success comes from simply providing buyers with information.
Right.
The flawed logic goes like this. If I just give the buyer enough feature lists, enough pristine case studies, and enough perfectly formatted pricing data, they will logically conclude that my product is the best and they will naturally choose to buy it.
The whole walking brochure mentality.
Exactly.
We often treat salespeople as delivery mechanisms for collateral. But let's be real. If providing information was all it took to close a complex deal, the internet would have replaced sales reps 2 decades ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Because buyers already have infinite information. They can watch your demos on YouTube, read your reviews on G2, pull your pricing from a hidden PDF online.
We are entirely drowning in information, but we are starving for clarity. High-performing salespeople do not just inform, they fundamentally change how buyers think. They exert influence.
They cut through the noise.
Right. A buyer doesn't need a human to read a feature list to them. They need a human to help them make sense of the noise.
And the text gives us a great checklist of what that true influence actually looks like in practice. It's not about speaking louder or being overly charismatic, Great salespeople help buyers clarify their own internal problems. Sometimes a buyer thinks they have one problem, but they actually have another.
And that requires reframing priorities. Let's say you might be sitting with a VP of supply chain who says, we urgently need to buy a tool to speed up our warehouse dispatch.
Okay.
A purely informational AI would just say, great, here's our dispatch software. It is 20% faster than the competitor.
Here are the specs. Sign here.
Exactly. But an influential human salesperson, using their judgment, might dig deeper into the business model and realize the real issue isn't the dispatch speed at all. It's upstream inventory forecasting.
So they have to look that VP in the eye and say, I know you are laser focused on speeding up dispatch.
Yeah.
And we can help with that. But based on what you've told me about your seasonal shortages, your real bottleneck is actually your forecasting accuracy. If we don't fix that first, faster dispatch will just drain your warehouse quicker.
Think about what it actually takes to pull that off. You are essentially telling a highly successful, stressed executive that the way they are looking at their own business is flawed.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Not at all. To do that without offending them, to do that in a way that makes them feel empowered rather than attacked, it requires exquisite timing. It requires deep empathy, unwavering confidence, and highly strategic communication. You are dismantling their worldview and replacing it with a better one.
And you have to earn the right to challenge them like that, because you only earn through the trust we talked about earlier.
The elements really do stack on top of each other. You earn the right through trust, you read the situation using commercial judgment, and you execute the challenge through influence. AI can certainly draft a very polite email suggesting a new priority, and it can summarize a white paper on inventory forecasting. But true influence, the ability to change a human mind through a shared emotional connection and mutual respect, that remains deeply fundamentally human.
Okay, so we've broken down why AI can't build trust, why it fails at commercial judgment, and why it can't authentically influence a buyer's mindset.
Yep.
Which leads us to the biggest question for the executives and hiring managers listening to this right now. If we know AI isn't going to replace the core function of our elite reps, but we also know we can't just ignore the technology, what is the playbook?
Yeah.
How should revenue leaders be using AI to actually drive long-term sales success?
Well, the businesses that are seeing the absolute highest returns right now are the ones that have completely stopped looking at AI as a replacement for human talent.
They're not building robot armies.
Exactly. They aren't trying to build robot sales reps. Instead, they are utilizing AI to supercharge human productivity. They're looking at their top performers and asking, how do we take all the administrative friction out of this person's day?
And the source gives us a really concrete playbook for this. It details exactly how AI is improving sales operations by basically delegating the predictable.
Let's break down the mechanism of that. Think about lead research. Historically, a dedicated rep might spend 45 minutes before a major discovery call scouring a target company's website, reading their annual 10K report, searching for recent news, and trying to figure out what the CEO cares about.
Which is vital work, but it is deeply time-consuming.
Right. And it eats into the time they could spend actually talking to the buyer.
So true.
Today, a smart sales leader uses AI to automate that entire research phase. You can deploy an AI tool to instantly scrape that 10K report, cross-reference it with the CEO's recent podcast interviews, analyze the tone of their recent press releases, and hand the sales rep a one-page synthesis of the company's current strategic bottleneck.
Wow.
The AI does in 10 seconds what used to take an hour. The rep spends 5 minutes reviewing the brief, and they walk into the call armed with incredible insight.
So they use the AI to gather the perfect data, and then they use their human influence to deliver it in a way that actually resonates.
Exactly.
It's also about automating the heavy administrative work, like CRM updates and data entry, and using AI to enhance forecasting accuracy by analyzing historical deal velocity.
It is entirely about buying back time. If you use AI to handle the predictable, repeatable tasks, the data entry, the basic follow-up scheduling, the initial account mapping, you give your salespeople back 10 to 15 hours of their week.
That's massive.
It is, and you demand that they spend those hours doing exactly what we've been talking about, building deep relationships, exercising commercial judgment on complex deals, and designing commercial strategies that actually influence buyers.
And this leads us to what is arguably the most fascinating insight from the entire piece. It is the great irony of the AI revolution in sales.
Oh, this is a vital paradigm shift for any hiring manager to internalize. The source highlights this beautiful paradox. As AI becomes more ubiquitous and as buyers find themselves absolutely bombarded with automated outreach, synthetic video, and robotic follow-ups, authentic human sales skills are actually becoming significantly more valuable.
It's the most basic law of economics, right? Scarcity creates value.
Yes.
When every buyer's inbox is flooded with perfectly grammar-checked, soulless, AI-generated noise, a genuine human interaction becomes rare. A conversation with someone who is slightly imperfect, deeply empathetic, and genuinely curious stands out like a beacon in the fog.
Authenticity becomes the ultimate commercial differentiator. 10 years ago, being able to write a great email was a competitive advantage. Today, an AI can write a great email, so the value has shifted.
The bar moved.
Exactly. The salespeople who can step into this highly automated, noisy environment and effortlessly build trust, who can create meaningful conversations rather than just executing a script, who deeply understand business challenges and provide real commercial insight, those are the individuals who will command the market. The premium on elite human talent is going up, not down.
So let's distill this deep dive down into a few quick, highly actionable takeaways for your own sales strategy as you look at your team tomorrow. First, you need to aggressively delegate the predictable.
Right.
If your top account executives are spending hours on administrative busy work, manually updating pipelines, or doing basic lead research, you are wasting your most expensive asset. Deploy AI to handle the data so your humans can handle the relationships.
Second, you need to fundamentally shift how you evaluate, hire, and train talent. Stop hiring for people who are just good at memorizing product specs and presenting information. AI does that better and faster.
Yeah, leave that to the machines.
You need to hire specifically for the human elements that algorithms lack. During your interview process, you need to screen for a candidate's ability to build genuine trust under pressure. You need to test their capacity to exercise nuanced commercial judgment in highly ambiguous, chaotic situations. And you must look for the emotional intelligence required to actively challenge and influence a senior executive's priorities without alienating them.
If you're ready to define that role, map out the specific success profile and build the targeted hiring strategy needed to secure the top 1% of sales talent before you even commit to a search. You need to dive deeper into this material. Head over to thesalesexperts.com to explore how the sales experts can help you achieve long-term sales success and build a truly resilient revenue engine.
And as you look at your own revenue organization today, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over. We've talked about how AI is going to strip away the busy work, but think about the psychological safety net that busy work provides for an average salesperson.
Oh, that's interesting.
If AI eventually takes over 100% of the CRM updates, the account research, and the email drafting, your sales team will have absolutely nowhere left to hide.
Wow.
They won't be able to look productive by pointing to how many hours they spent formatting a presentation. They will have to spend all of their time out in the open, fully exposed, tasked only with building trust, navigating complex human politics, and changing the minds of skeptical buyers.
The curtain gets pulled back entirely.
It does. So ask yourself, are you confident that the people sitting on your team right now actually possess the elite human skills required to survive and close deals in a fully automated world?